Hey Moon Jade family. Thank you so much for your love and support. Please like, subscribe, and share. It's a simple way to keep our stories coming. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you for being here. Now, grab a seat and let's continue the story. The low hum of music pulsed through Velour, the upscale bar where Nia Johnson had been working for the past year. The warm, golden lights reflected off glassware and polished wood, casting an almost romantic glow across the space. To most patrons, it was a haven of luxury and relaxation. To Nia, it was survival. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her uniform apron. Tonight was her final shift. The last night she'd ever have to plaster on a smile for strangers, endure drunken laughter, and dodge wandering hands. After this shift, she'd finally have enough money to pay off the last installment of her college tuition. The dreams she'd fought for through endless nights like this would finally be within reach. Just one more night, she reminded herself. After this, everything changes. Johnson. Her manager's sharp voice cut through her thoughts. Nia turned to see him frowning, his rotund face glistening under the bar lights. There's a VIP at table 12. Very important client. Do not mess this up. You serve him personally, and you smile. Got it. Nia swallowed her nerves and nodded. Got it. Table 12 was tucked into a private corner of the lounge. The man seated there exuded quiet danger and power, even though he wasn't doing much more than sipping a drink. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and devastatingly handsome, dressed in a dark tailored suit that looked like it cost more than her entire education. His piercing black eyes scanned the room like a predator, calculating and calm. Nia froze for a moment. There was something magnetic about him, a force that pulled her attention no matter how hard she tried to resist. Good evening, she said softly, her voice almost trembling as she approached. What can I get for you tonight? The man looked up, and their gazes locked. A slow, unexpected smile curved his lips. You're new, he said, his voice deep and smooth, accented faintly but pleasantly. Last day, actually, Nia admitted, forcing a polite smile. So, technically, I'm old and new. His smile deepened, surprising her. Interesting. Then let me be the last person you serve here. Nia scribbled his order and rushed to the bar, shaking her head. Focus, Nia. He's just a customer. A very, very dangerously good-looking customer. When she returned with his drink, she noticed two things at once. 1. Several men at a nearby table were glaring at the mysterious man with thinly veiled hostility. 2. The mysterious man's glass had been switched, so subtly she almost missed it. Before she could say anything, one of the drunk men stumbled over and sneered at her. Hey, sweetheart, why don't you come sit with us instead of wasting your time with this stiff? Nia stiffened. I'm working, she said firmly, stepping back. The man reached for her arm, but the mysterious stranger moved like lightning, his hand clamping down on the drunk's wrist with bone-crushing strength. She said no, he said, his voice soft but lethal. The drunk stumbled back, muttering, and his friends quickly dragged him away, pale-faced. Nia's heart raced. Thank you. Sit, the man interrupted gently, gesturing to the seat across from him. You had a rough night. Just sit with me for a moment. She hesitated, biting her lip. She wasn't supposed to, but he had just saved her. All right, she murmured, sliding into the seat. The man's eyes softened slightly as he pushed a fresh drink toward her. To new beginnings, he said smoothly. To new beginnings, she echoed with a nervous smile, raising the glass to her lips. Neither of them noticed the bartender's smirk as he watched from across the room. The drink had been spiked. It started subtly, a warmth spreading through Nia's veins, a dizzy lightness in her head. She blinked rapidly, trying to focus, but everything felt hazy and strange. Across from her, the man, Jiaming, though she didn't know his name yet, frowned slightly, his own pupils dilating. Nia, his voice was rough now, his usual control slipping. Are you okay? I don't know, she whispered, her body trembling. The heat inside her was unbearable, twisting low in her belly. Jiaming cursed under his breath, standing quickly. Someone tampered with the drinks. Before he could storm off to confront anyone, Nia swayed, and he caught her, their bodies colliding in a rush of heat and need. Her breath hitched as she clung to him. His scent, clean, expensive, maddeningly masculine, filled her senses. I don't. Her protest melted into a moan as his lips brushed hers. "Forgive me," Jiaming groaned, his control completely shattered. They stumbled into one of the bar's private rooms, the door locking behind them. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only skin and heat, desperate kisses and tangled limbs, their bodies burning with uncontrollable desire as the drug coursed through their veins. It was wild. Consuming. The kind of passion that left no room for thought or hesitation. When dawn broke, Nia woke with a pounding headache and the stark, cold reality of what had happened. She sat up slowly, staring at the devastatingly beautiful man sleeping beside her. Memories of their fevered night flashed through her mind, leaving her breathless and terrified. What have I done? Panic surged through her. She dressed hurriedly, her hands shaking so badly she could barely button her blouse. As she grabbed her purse, she realized her late mother's necklace, her most treasured possession, was missing. She scanned the room frantically but couldn't find it. Tears stung her eyes, but there was no time. If anyone found out, her life would be ruined. With one last lingering glance at the man she didn't even know by name, Nia fled into the early morning light, leaving behind the necklace and a piece of her heart. The sharp click of designer heels echoed through the grand marble lobby of Jiaming Enterprises, the most powerful corporation in the entire city. Every head turned as Nia Johnson strode in, the picture of grace and authority. Her fitted emerald green dress hugged her curves perfectly, her hair swept up in a sleek bun. No one looking at her now would ever guess she had once been a struggling bartender, living paycheck to paycheck. No one would guess that 5 years ago, she had run out of this city, terrified and broken, carrying a secret that changed her life forever. That secret now had names, Jalen and Jordan Johnson, her 5-year-old twin sons. And both of them had the same stormy black eyes as the man she'd spent one unforgettable night with. "Stay calm, Nia," she told herself, clutching her leather portfolio. "This is just business. He doesn't know you. He doesn't need to." Flashback to earlier that morning. "Mommy, why can't we come with you?" Jalen's tiny voice was thick with a pout as he stood by the apartment door, his brother Jordan mimicking his expression. Nia knelt, cupping their soft, identical faces. "Because Mommy has an important meeting, baby," she said gently. "But I promise I'll come home soon. Be good for Aunt Keisha, okay?" Jordan narrowed his little eyes, so much like his father's it made Nia's chest ache. "You're nervous," he accused, sharp for his age. "Why?" Nia smiled tightly, kissing both their foreheads. "Because Mommy's about to make the biggest deal of her life." As she left, her hands trembled. She wasn't lying, her fashion design company, Nova Threads, was finally successful enough to work with Jiaming Enterprises. This contract would change everything for her company, and for her sons. But she couldn't ignore the heavy weight in her chest. What if I see him? What if he remembers me? Back at Jiaming Enterprises. A polished assistant led Nia through a set of towering double doors into a massive conference room. The air felt charged, almost electric. Then she saw him. Jiaming. He stood at the head of the table, tall and commanding in a charcoal gray suit that fit him like a second skin. His black hair was perfectly styled, his chiseled features unreadable as he spoke to his executives. When his gaze shifted and locked on hers, Nia's breath caught painfully in her throat. Time seemed to stop. 5 years melted away, and she was back in that hazy, desperate night, his hands on her skin, his lips whispering her name in the dark. Her knees almost buckled, but she forced herself to remain composed. Jiaming, for his part, simply raised an eyebrow. He didn't recognize her. "Not at all. Miss Johnson," he said, his voice deep and smooth, sending a shiver down her spine. "Welcome to Jiaming Enterprises." Nia's heart twisted. He doesn't know me. He doesn't remember. Good. It's better this way. "Thank you, Mr. Jiaming," she said evenly, taking her seat while her pulse thundered in her ears. The meeting was a blur. Nia presented her designs, fielded questions, and smiled at the appropriate moments, all while fighting the overwhelming urge to look at him. Every time she did, she found his gaze already on her, unreadable and intense. When the meeting ended, Jiaming dismissed everyone except her. "I'd like a private word," he said smoothly. Nia's stomach dropped. "Of course." The room emptied, leaving them alone. The silence was deafening. "You intrigue me, Miss Johnson." Jiaming's tone was casual, but his eyes burned with something darker. "You command the room with quiet confidence. Not many people do that." Nia swallowed hard. I appreciate the compliment, Mr. Zhang. His gaze swept over her slowly, like a physical touch. Have we met before? He asked suddenly. Her breath caught. For a split second, panic threatened to shatter her composure. He doesn't remember. He can't remember. No, she said quickly, forcing a polite smile. I don't believe so. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly, though suspicion flickered in his eyes. Strange, he murmured. You feel familiar. As Nia left the building, she almost collapsed from the effort of holding herself together. She hadn't expected the connection between them to still be so intense, so magnetic. Her whole body still trembled from his nearness, from the way his deep voice seemed to curl around her soul. She didn't notice the woman lurking in the shadows, watching her leave. Across the city, Sasha Williams, tall, beautiful, and ruthless, fingered the delicate silver necklace around her throat. The very necklace that had once belonged to Nia's late mother. A cold smile curved Sasha's lips as she murmured. So, you're back, Nia Johnson. And you think you can waltz into this city and take what's mine? We'll see about that. Meanwhile, at the park. Later that afternoon, Jiaming's chauffeur drove him through the city. As the car slowed near a crowded park, Jiaming's sharp eyes caught sight of a little boy tumbling to the ground. The child's stormy black eyes, a perfect mirror of his own, widened in pain and fear. Jiaming's heart lurched inexplicably. Before he knew it, he was out of the car, kneeling beside the boy. Are you hurt? He asked, his voice uncharacteristically gentle. The boy sniffled, then looked up at him with such familiarity it stole Jiaming's breath. For a moment, the world tilted. Who's your father, little one? Jiaming asked softly. My daddy's gone, the boy said simply, before wriggling out of his grasp and running to a waiting woman, Aunt Keisha. She shot Jiaming a wary look before hurrying away with the boy. Jiaming stood frozen, a strange, unsettling thought taking root in his mind. Back at her apartment, Nia tucked both twins into bed, her heart still racing. Jalen had nearly run into his father's arms, completely by accident. She stared out the window, gripping the empty spot on her dresser where her mother's necklace should have been. She didn't know Sasha was already plotting to use that necklace to claim the life, and the mun, that rightfully belonged to her. Stay away from him, Jiaming, she begged silently. For both our sakes. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The next day, Nia buried herself in work, trying to silence the storm inside her. Design sketches lay scattered across her office desk, but no matter how hard she tried to focus, his face kept appearing in her mind. Jiaming Zhang, the father of her children. The man who didn't remember her, or that night. Her body still ached from the tension of being near him. Her lips tingled with the phantom memory of his kiss. It was infuriating. She had promised herself she would never let him close again. Never let him destroy her the way he unknowingly had 5 years ago. Mommy. The twins burst into the office, their laughter echoing through the room like sunshine. Jalen leapt into her lap while Jordan clung to her arm. Nia's walls softened instantly. Hey, my babies, she whispered, kissing their cheeks. They were her everything, her heart outside her body. Guess what? Jordan's eyes glittered with mischief. We saw that man again. Nia froze. What man? The tall one with the black hair. Jalen said dramatically, throwing his hands in the air. He gave me candy yesterday. He was nice. Panic sliced through Nia like a blade. Jiaming. He had seen them. And if he saw them again, if he looked at them closely enough, there would be no hiding the truth. Nia forced a laugh, masking her terror. That's nice, baby. But remember what Mommy says, don't talk to strangers. Yes, Mommy, they chorused, though Jordan smirked like he knew more than he was letting on. She needed to keep them far away from Jiaming. Before he put the pieces together. Later that evening, the city glittered beneath the evening sky as Nia arrived at a private dinner meeting with Zhang Enterprises. It was supposed to be strictly business, just a casual networking event. But when she stepped into the candlelit rooftop lounge and saw him, her breath caught. Jiaming was magnetic, his charcoal suit perfectly tailored, his sharp gaze tracking her every move. And he wasn't alone. Sasha Williams sat beside him, her hand resting far too comfortably on his arm. The sight twisted Nia's stomach into knots. So she is his fiancée. Nia Johnson, Sasha purred, rising to her feet with a fake smile. It's been so long. You've really done well for yourself. Nia's spine stiffened. Sasha, she said coolly, refusing to show emotion. Her eyes flickered to the necklace glittering around Sasha's throat, her mother's necklace. The same one Nia had lost 5 years ago. The same one that could expose everything. Thank you for joining us, Jiaming said smoothly, his voice wrapping around her like velvet. I wanted to discuss the next phase of our collaboration. But his piercing gaze betrayed something else, suspicion. And something darker. Hunger. As dinner progressed, Nia found it harder and harder to concentrate. Every brush of his hand near hers sent a jolt through her body. Every stolen glance made her breath hitch. At one point, Sasha leaned in to whisper something to Jiaming, deliberately brushing her lips near his ear. Nia's fingers curled into fists beneath the table. Why does it matter? He isn't yours. He never was. When the meeting ended, Nia made her escape as quickly as possible, heading for the elevator. But before the doors could close, a strong hand shot between them, and Jiaming stepped inside. Miss Johnson, he said, his voice low and dangerous. We need to talk. Nia's pulse skyrocketed. Mr. Zhang, it's late. I don't care. He loomed over her, his presence overwhelming in the small space. His scent, cedar and smoke, wrapped around her like a drug. You're hiding something from me, he said softly, though his tone vibrated with restrained fury. And I don't like being deceived. Nia's heart pounded in her ears. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? His eyes burned into hers. Every time I see you, it feels like I know you. And those children I saw yesterday. His voice broke off, sharp with realization. They had my eyes. Ice flooded Nia's veins. You saw them? Yes. His voice dropped to a growl. And you're going to explain. Panic and longing warred inside her. He was too close. Too perceptive. Too dangerous. She tried to push past him, but he caught her wrist, spinning her back against the elevator wall. The heat between them ignited like wildfire. Nia, he whispered, his breath hot against her ear. Tell me the truth. Her resolve crumbled in an instant. Years of longing, anger, and desire surged to the surface, and then his mouth was on hers. The kiss was raw, desperate, consuming. Her hands fisted in his suit as his body pressed against hers, claiming her with a hunger that bordered on madness. When they finally tore apart, gasping for air, Nia shoved him back, her cheeks flushed. This was a mistake, she rasped, though her body screamed for more. I won't be your secret. Before he could respond, the elevator doors opened, and she fled into the night, leaving Jiaming shaken and more determined than ever. Meanwhile, across the city, Sasha stood before a mirror, fingering the stolen necklace around her throat. The smirk on her face was pure malice. Enjoy your moment, Nia, she hissed softly. Because soon, Jiaming will believe I'm the mother of his children. And when he does, everything you love will be mine. As Nia raced home, she clutched her trembling hands to her chest. She had barely survived Jiaming's questions tonight. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. The truth was closing in, and when it came out, nothing would ever be the same. The storm outside mirrored the chaos inside Nia's heart. Rain hammered against her apartment windows as she paced the living room, her mind racing. She could still feel him, Jiaming's lips, his hands, the way he had kissed her like a starving man finally given a taste of life. It was dangerous, addictive, and utterly wrong. Mommy, are you okay? Jalen's sleepy voice pulled her back. Both boys stood in the doorway in their pajamas, clutching their stuffed animals. Nia forced a smile and knelt to hug them tightly. I'm fine, babies. Go back to bed, okay? They nodded, but Jordan gave her a knowing look, far too perceptive for a 5-year-old. You're nervous again, he murmured. Is it about that man? Her heart stopped. What men? The one with the eyes like ours, Jalen said simply. Nia's throat closed up. They were too smart. Too observant. And if Jiaming saw them both together, there would be no denying it. I have to stay away from him. For their sake, and for mine. The rain had cleared, leaving the city glistening like glass. Nia walked into Zhang Enterprises for another business meeting, her armor firmly in place, tailored dress, flawless makeup, and an icy mask of professionalism. But the moment she saw Jiaming, her composure cracked. He stood by the window, his silhouette framed by sunlight. When he turned, his gaze locked on her with scorching intensity. Nia, he said softly, too softly. Not Miss Johnson. Not formal. Just her name. And somehow, it felt like a claim. Mr. Zhang, she managed, keeping her tone cool. Shall we get started? His jaw tightened, but he didn't push. Not yet. Instead, he moved closer, deliberately invading her space until her back nearly brushed the edge of the conference table. You ran for me last night, he said, voice low and dangerous. Why? Nia's pulse thudded wildly. Because it was inappropriate. And because whatever this is, it can't happen. Can't. His eyes darkened. Or won't. Before she could answer, Sasha burst into the room, her laugh like shards of glass. Well, isn't this cozy, she drawled, her sharp gaze flicking between them. Jiaming, darling, you didn't tell me you had private meetings with your designers. Nia stiffened. Darling. So Sasha was his fiancée, or at least, that's what Sasha wanted everyone to believe. Sasha, Jiaming said coldly, clearly irritated. This is a professional setting. What are you doing here? Oh, I just came to bring you lunch, she said sweetly, holding up a bag. Then she turned to Nia, her smile venomous. Some of us like to take care of our men. Nia's stomach churned, but she refused to react. Thank you for your time, Mr. Zhang, she said briskly, gathering her files. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. She fled before either of them could stop her. Later that night, Sasha paced her penthouse, fury simmering beneath her perfect exterior. She's still alive, she's still here, she hissed, slamming a glass onto the counter. That woman thinks she can just waltz back into this city and steal everything from me? Her gaze fell on the necklace around her neck, the ultimate weapon. Nia's necklace. The piece of proof that tied her to Jiaming. A plan began to take shape, dark and delicious. All she needed to do was convince Jiaming that she was the mother of his children. And then everything Nia loved would crumble. 2 days later, Nia attended a high-profile gala hosted by Zhang Enterprises. She had no choice, Nova Thread's future depended on this partnership. But she hadn't expected to see Jiaming so soon. Or for him to corner her in a quiet hallway, far away from prying eyes. You've been avoiding me, he said flatly. Nia crossed her arms, fighting to keep her voice steady. Because it's what's best for both of us. What's best for us, he growled, stepping closer, is the truth. She backed up until her spine hit the wall. His scent enveloped her, dizzying and warm. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. His hand braced beside her head, caging her in. From the moment I saw you, I haven't been able to think about anything else. And when I kissed you, Nia, his voice broke, raw with emotion. It felt like coming home. Her breath caught. Home. The word shattered her defenses. Jiaming, please, she whispered, trembling. We can't. But she didn't get to finish. Because his mouth crashed down on hers. The kiss was nothing like the first. This was pure fire. Years of suppressed desire igniting all at once. Nia moaned against his lips as his hands roamed her body, pulling her closer, deeper, until there was no space left between them. Tell me to stop, he rasped, his forehead pressed to hers. She couldn't. She didn't want to. Instead, she whispered, don't you dare. That was all it took. Clothes became a blur, her dress pooling on the floor, his shirt ripped open. His body was hot and hard against hers as he lifted her, carrying her to a secluded lounge room and laying her gently on a velvet sofa. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only his touch, his voice, his desperate worship of her as if she were his salvation. And Nia gave in completely, lost in the wildfire they created together. As they lay tangled together, breathless and raw, Nia's heart ached with conflicting emotions. This was everything she had dreamed of, and everything she feared. Jiaming brushed a kiss over her temple. Whatever you're hiding, he murmured, I'll find out. And when I do, you won't run for me again. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening. It's Sasha, he muttered, getting dressed. Stay here. I'll handle this. But as he left the room, Nia's chest tightened with dread. Sasha wasn't just a rival. She was a storm about to destroy them all. Alone in the darkened room, Nia clutched the velvet cushion, trembling. She had given in to Jiaming tonight, to the truth of their desire. But outside these walls, lies and schemes were already in motion. And when they struck, her fragile happiness would shatter. By the time Jiaming returned to the room, Nia was gone without a trace once again. The soft hum of the city pulsed outside as Jiaming stood by his office window, hands clasped tightly behind his back. He hadn't been able to focus since he saw those two little boys earlier that day, their matching mischievous grins, the way one of them tilted his head exactly as he did when thinking. It was haunting. It was impossible. He had dismissed it as coincidence, until the younger one called out, "Mama says we shouldn't talk to strangers," before tugging his twin brother away. "Mama." He had ordered for a DNA test to be done but was too anxious to open the results yet. His mind had been spinning since then. There was only one woman whose memory could still set his veins on fire after 5 years, the mysterious girl from that blurred night. The one who had disappeared like smoke before he could even process what had happened, the one that felt too much like Nia. His fists clenched. Was that Nia was hiding from him? The thought left him restless and dangerously frustrated. He was about to call for his assistant when his office door opened without warning. "Jiaming," a soft voice purred. He didn't need to turn to know who it was, Sasha. She glided into the room wearing a cream designer dress, her perfectly styled curls bouncing as she moved. Her fingers toyed with a delicate gold necklace, the exact one Nia had been wearing at the gala the other night. He turned sharply, his eyes narrowing. He had begun to doubt her earlier story. "Where did you get that?" Tasha blinked innocently. "This? Oh, I've had it for a while. Family heirloom." But the slight tremor in her voice didn't escape his notice. Before he could press her further, the door burst open again. Nia stormed in, fire blazing in her dark brown eyes. "You," she hissed, pointing at Sasha. "That necklace belongs to me." The room went silent for a tense heartbeat. Jiaming's gaze whipped between the two women. "What is going on here?" he demanded, his voice sharp like a blade. Sasha sneered, clinging to his arm. "She's lying, Jiaming. She's trying to steal me from you. We've been close for months now. You know that." Nia's jaw dropped. "Close? Are you kidding me?" She stepped forward, her voice shaking with fury. "You thought I wouldn't know how you conned your way into his life because you knew he was the Manai." She stopped abruptly, biting her lip before she revealed too much. Jiaming's sharp eyes caught it instantly. "The Manyu what, Nia?" His voice was dangerously soft. "The Manyu, what?" Before Nia could answer, a high-pitched cry rang from the hallway. "Mommy!" Two small figures barreled into the office. It was like time froze as Jiaming stared down at the twins, his twins, standing right in front of him. One clutched his pant leg with unshaken familiarity, tilting his head exactly as Jiaming often did. The other narrowed his eyes with a seriousness far beyond his age. Sasha paled, her grip on Jiaming loosening. Nia looked like she wanted to disappear. Jiaming's voice was a rough whisper. "Who are these children?" Nia swallowed hard, her throat painfully dry. "My sons." His eyes burned into hers, fierce and unrelenting. "Our sons," he corrected coldly. The air seemed to snap between them as the truth hung heavy. Sasha stumbled back, grasping at straws. "No. That's impossible. She's just trying to trap you, Jiaming. Don't you see? She's desperate, a gold digger." "Okay, Sasha, since you want to claim him, tell us what happened that night." Nia asked calmly. Sasha stammered anxiously, trying to get her story straight. "Enough." Jiaming's roar silenced everyone in the room. His dark eyes, stormy with rage, turned on Sasha. "Leave. Now. But. Now." Sasha fled, slamming the door behind her. The twins exchanged worried glances, then slipped quietly to the corner of the room. Nia's shoulders sagged, tears welling in her eyes. "You weren't supposed to know like this," she whispered. Jiaming crossed the space between them in 3 strides, towering over her, his face unreadable. "You kept them from me for 5 years, Nia. 5 years." Her tears spilled over. "I had no choice. I didn't even know who you were back then. You vanished before I woke up that morning. I thought it was a mistake, a drunken accident, until I saw you again and realized." Her voice broke. "I was terrified. You're powerful, Jiaming. I thought you'd take them away from me." He cupped her face roughly, forcing her to meet his blazing gaze. "I would have protected you. All of you." His voice cracked with fury and longing. "You think I've spent 5 years not knowing why I couldn't forget you? I've searched for you, Nia." Her breath hitched. The room felt too small, too charged. "Say they're mine," he demanded, his voice raw. "They're yours," she whispered. "They've always been yours." A relieved smile curled up Jiaming's lips, but before he could say another word, a shadowy figure stood before them, watching them with burning hatred. It was Tasha, and in her hand was a small vial, the same kind used to spike drinks. Her voice was icy. "If I can't have you, Jiaming, then no one will." For a heartbeat, no one moved. The vial glinted under the fluorescent light as Tasha's shaking hand tipped slightly, its dark contents threatening to spill. Her face was twisted with rage and heartbreak. "You ruined everything," she screamed, her voice cracking. "I was supposed to be with you, Jiaming." "Me." Jiaming's body shifted in front of Nia and the twins in a single, protective motion. His voice was low, lethal. "Tasha, put it down." "Don't tell me what to do," she shrieked. "I was willing to risk everything for you. But you," her gaze swung wildly toward Nia, full of venom, "you took my place. You think he loves you, but when you're gone, he'll come crawling back to me." Before she could fling the vial, the door burst open. Two of Jiaming's security men surged forward, tackling her to the ground. The vial shattered harmlessly against the marble floor, its bitter smell filling the air. "No!" Tasha screamed, kicking and clawing as they restrained her. "You'll regret this. You'll all regret this." Jiaming's jaw was like stone. "Get her out of my sight," he commanded, his voice cold enough to freeze the air. The guards dragged her away, her manic laughter echoing down the hall like a curse. The silence that followed was deafening. Nia's arms instinctively went around the twins, who were trembling and wide-eyed. "It's okay, babies," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It's over now." Jiaming knelt before them, his normally sharp, commanding face softening. "Go with Aunt Keisha, just for a little while," he said gently. "I need to talk to your mommy." Jalen pouted but nodded, while Jordan studied Jiaming with a serious expression far too old for his tiny face. "You promise you won't make mommy cry?" he asked. Jiaming's throat tightened. "I promise." The boys finally left with Keisha, leaving only Nia and Jiaming in the room. The moment the door closed, Nia collapsed into a chair, covering her face with trembling hands. Her whole body shook as adrenaline drained away. Jiaming crouched before her, prying her hands away so she'd meet his eyes. "I swear to you, Nia," he said hoarsely, "no one will ever hurt you or our sons again. I'll burn this entire city down before I let that happen." Her tears spilled freely, but there was a fragile smile on her lips. "You don't have to burn it down," she whispered. "Just stay." That single word shattered something inside him. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as tightly as he'd wished to for 5 long, agonizing years. When he kissed her this time, it was slow, reverent, a promise rather than a demand. Their clothes fell away in a blur of heated touches and murmured confessions, but unlike before, it wasn't frantic. It was love finally allowed to breathe. As they lay tangled together afterward, the city lights bathing their skin in gold, Nia traced a fingertip down his chest. "I was so scared you'd take them away from me," she admitted. "That's why I kept running." His hand closed over hers. "I'll never take them from you," he vowed. "I'll protect you. Always." The next morning, laughter filled the penthouse as the twins raced around the living room, their giggles blending with the clatter of toy cars. For the first time, Nia felt like their family was whole. Safe. Jiaming crouched to catch one of the boys, a rare, unguarded laugh breaking from his lips. Nia's chest swelled at the sight. This was all she had ever wanted.